we're back for less falling into an unescapable situation at an abandoned mill. I promise.
Can you actually fall into the water here? I forgot.
Yeah, you can fall off cliffs and whatnot at any point in the game. I should see about like hooking my Dogbucks controller up to my PC instead.
What have you been using?
My wired 360 controller.
Ah. Well, all you need is a micro USB cable.
Got plenty of those. Well, not plenty, but I have 2 of those.
Might need to install drivers for it, but those are easy to get.
Sounds like work.
Well, it should download them directly from Windows Update.
I mean, I guess I could also just, like, play with the sensitivity for the sticks in every game I play.
That sounds like more work.
Read the page.
You're not reading the page.
Do it. Do it now. After the goop.
When Barry saw the darkness attack the visitor center, it made him a believer. The men Al said he'd shot,
He saw our
they hadn't
face.
been just locals on crank. Somehow the world had changed. Like the channel had been switched without warning. You think you're watching a sitcom, and you're really watching a horror show. When the birds started attacking the cabin, Barry wasn't surprised, just terrified.
Barry's in trouble.
I mean, if it were me and I realized what was going on, I think I'd be a little less scared. I mean, slightly scared, but perhaps not terrified. Like, I know what to expect, so it's not as big of a deal.
Well, I mean, you know what to expect because you're playing the game.
You know what I
The
meant.
site was a mess. The modular office had been pushed off the cliff. Deputy Thornton climbed up from the wreckage excited, breathing hard from the exertion. Nobody there. It's weird. Don't you think that's weird? Bored, Mulligan let out a mighty snort. Hell, it's always weird, Thornton. Just a question of sorting out what kind of weird it is this time around.
I don't think his delivery is that weird or that stiff.
It's definitely a lot more animated when he's voicing a character. Like, when he's reading dialogue, it's fine. It's just his monologuing is kind of... eh.
And I'm pretty deadpan when I monologue, too. Coffee. Mill coffee.
I think Alan Wake is a coffee elemental.
Why can't I hold all these coffees? Poof. Disgusting dark goop.
Beware of Widowmakers.
Ahaha, it's a joke. Get thee to fuck.
Oh, okay then.
Or don't.
I was gonna make some joke about a very brief... let me rephrase that. I was going to make a joke about a band named Widowmaker that Dee Snider very briefly frontlined. Or fronted, I should say. Something like that. Anyway. Doesn't matter, the moment has passed.
She'll chew you up and spit you out. Oh, she goes.
That's Maneater.
I know. Same difference. I need the page. But you can't just, like, crawl through holes or anything, God forbid.
Oh yeah, I mean, did you think this wasn't a game?
All these conventions that... Well, things we can do in the real world that we take for granted, that are not possible in a video game.
Yeah. Insurmountable waist-high fences and all that.
Shadows stirred in the
Stepping
wind
through
picked up
openings.
as I ran through the forest. I felt the dark presence turning its gaze toward me. Then the moonlight was blotted out by dark shadows that raced violently across the ground, moving too swiftly to be natural. Darkness gathered between the trees and melted again to reveal the taken. No natural path had brought them here.
That's how teleportation works.
Basically.
Can't go out the window either. No crouching. Not allowed. Good thing all these random chests can hold Alan's weight.
Right?
And are also neatly stacked in such a way that I can get into and out of areas.
It's convenient, really.
This is where the problem of, like, writing a manuscript about the events that are going to happen would be a little weird.
Kind of.
And then there was a waist-high fence, and then I walked around it, rather than going over it, for I don't know what reason. It makes sense in context. Or it should, anyway. Look, you can just stand way back there. That's totally cool. A-okay with that. The good part is anytime you shine the fucking light in their eyes, they just kind of back off a little bit.
Yeah, it's enough to briefly stun them.
Unless they're already like right in your face and then they'll just shove you.
Yeah.
But not quickly enough that they can also still attack you. I don't even think it does any damage. I think it's just meant to get the light off them.
Yeah, probably.
Which seems kind of pointless if you recover faster than they do.
I don't think you always recover faster than they do.
Maybe not like the fast guys, but definitely everybody else.
It's only really a problem if there's more than one enemy after your ass. Because while they don't recover faster than you, the guy next to him didn't stumble in the first place.
I neglected to pick up a flare, but that's okay.
Not like you've been using them anyway.
Well, I've been using them very haphazardly.
This is where you'd shit a brick in Resident Evil 4, right?
Yes. Dude, you can fuck right off.
Where'd they get the chainsaw go?
Behind the rock. Or actually still up there, never mind. Battery in. Really quick battery changes.
You know, thinking about it, it's odd that the flashlight stays on while you're reloading the batteries.
Magic.
Magic flashlight. Well, you know what? I can't actually argue that because it's actually the in-story excuse.
There's a magical flashlight. Maybe he feeds it in through the bottom.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a mag light. It probably does feed in through the bottom, but opening it disconnects the batteries, so the light shouldn't be on while you're changing them.
See, me, I would write it so it works like a bolt-action rifle, where it just ejects the battery and you feed in a new one.
Bolt-action flashlight. Does sound pretty cool.
Ow! The porch is covered with birds. They've got all Hitchcock on me.
Stay out of sight. I'm on my way. Don't open the door.
What am I, crazy?
Even if the birds make a really convincing
Be
argument.
there soon. Just make sure you keep the lights on.
There's going to be two arguments by the birds. Either it's going to end in nevermore or mine.
Give us
I
cornflakes!
still had to reach Mary at the cab, but at least I was out of the woods.
No, only physically, not so much metaphorically.
Yes.
Coffee.
In fact, metaphorically, you've left the frying pan but are headed directly into the fire. as they say.
Nope, not yet. I don't know, would the birds be out that late?
I'd have to get the car from
They
the
might.
garage. It would get me back to Barry faster, and the headlights were a welcome bonus.
Come on, driving segment.
So many crows. Not even bathroom reading
The
material.
FBI
Harsh.
agent's command froze me in place. I considered surrender. It was all falling apart anyway. I could give in, let someone else deal with it, but it felt all wrong. Call it instinct, his posture, the way he held the gun. He was no friend. Shots ringing
Not
in
friend.
my ears, I leaped for the hole in the fence and stumbled into the darkness beyond.
Pulling a classic Deus Ex maneuver, going into the lady's bathroom.
Quite. There's really anything here.
Except for the hunting rifle. And there you go, there's the showers and the bathrooms.
I had to find the key to the garage.
You found the key to the garage.
I'll be damned.
A story is not a machine that does what you tell it. A story is a beast with a life of its own. You can create it, shape it, but as the story grows, it starts wanting things of its own. Change one thing and you set off a chain reaction of events that spreads through the whole thing. The characters have to be true to themselves. The events need to follow a logic that fits the story. A single flaw and the magic is gone. The story dies. Alice dies.
As admittedly not professional writer,
Poopin'!
there is a lot of truth to that statement.
Kind of, sort of.
He's being a little bit overly dramatic about it, but the basic principle is true.
I'm definitely not one of those people that fully thinks the story is a creature of its own. It's more, as you write, as you come up with ideas, you have to retroactively correct things that would otherwise not make sense for what you added. Steering. Brakes in reverse. Move, bitch. Get out the way. Poof. Good old driving segments. But yeah, I'm definitely not one of those people who would ever say, like, yeah, the characters have taken on a life of their own, because I think that's a really dumb thing to say.
Like I said, he was being overly dramatic, but the basic idea of the story kind of...
Requiring cohesion.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I took out of that whole verbal diarrhea on Alan's part.
I mean, it is entirely possible to lose control of a story as you write it. Like, not in this sense, but just things kind of get out of hand as you write, and you find yourself in a situation where
New ideas have overridden old ones.
more that you put characters in situations where they would react in ways that you did not originally plan, just because of the things that you have written prior to that moment.
It's sort of like making a D&D character and trying to arbitrarily decide how they behave initially.
Yes, kind of like that.
Like, it works initially, but you can only really plan for so much. Get thee to fuck.
Nicely done.
What's like, wait, what? Whack.
Like how those axes are just bouncing off of his, like, 7 layers of tweed.
Maybe the backside of the axe is hitting him. The flat of the blade. they all arbitrarily turn to hams. It seems kind of like a poor idea on the Darkness's part to kill Alan, but dude, I was like 2 feet away from me. Was that really necessary?
Evidently it was.
Aim, Alex, aim. I suppose in like a D&D or tabletop setting it's a little bit different since you only have a base idea of what's going on. Whereas in every story I've ever written, it's been pretty consistent throughout. But I'm much better at keeping track of this is how the character will act.
Where's my wife?
Enough horseplay, Wake. You deliver the manuscript, and you can have your woman back. Simple as that.
I don't... Listen. I'm gonna need time to finish it. I still need to write the ending. I need a week.
Not done?
I need a week.
2 days. The old Bright Falls coal mine is nearby. You can find it easy, city boy. The main building, there at noon. You bring the manuscript, you'll get your wife. Not, well, get me?
Yes, I get you.
What kind of crazy person thinks you can write like half a book in 2 days?
Someone who doesn't do a lot of writing.
Barry had talked about birds over the phone.
Barry whimpered really loudly. But yes, basically, as long as you're not like pulling a Akira Toriyama and you forget all about a character entirely, you should be okay.
Al! Al, I am so glad you're here. A couple of them got in here before I blocked the chimney. This isn't normal. These birds are weird.
Well, yes, there's way more than there should be.
Kinda, yeah.
Al, make them go away, please!
The hell was that?
They're bad birds.
Is that a mountain or a bird?
I like how you don't have to kill every bird, just enough. They're like, fuck it. Strangely, they keep their distance.
It's almost as if they're trying to avoid death.
Enemies with some sense of self-preservation.
It's a rarity. Oh, they're there. I have a memory of Pee Wee Herman singing that song, but I just can't shake. What the hell is going on? I'm kind of kicking your ass.
Yeah, I know. There's like no indication of where they come from, other than when they make noise.
Barry, you can open the door now. They're gone.
I think, maybe.
It just kind of faded out of existence.
I'm sorry for thinking you were having a psychotic episode, man.
You should be.
I sent Barry to the town to ask around about a man fitting the kidnapper's description. He'd go through the archives of the local paper. Perhaps he could learn something. Anything about the island and the cabin that had disappeared.
So did the power company like
The
already
man
come out
wanted
and
a
fix the power line?
manuscript. I had to try to write him one to get Alice back.
Otherwise that would suck.
For me,
That's how I feel whenever I try to
always
write,
been
too.
nothing but a metaphor for the human psyche, a tool to use in writing fiction. Now, it was happening for real, and I couldn't put a single word on paper.
If you die in the game, you die for real.
It's essentially what's happening here.
Barry Wheeler speaking.
This is Rose.
Rose?
I found Mr. Wake's pages.
Oh, you sweet, brilliant girl.
Could you and Mr. Wake come get them? I live in the trailer park outside the town.
We'll be there in less than an hour.
I know.
See you soon.
Have a great day.
That didn't sound suspicious at all.
Hope you come back soon.
I noticed that the
Welcome to
stoplight was out.
Good girl.
Yay. At least they nailed the empty, vacant smile.
Yep.
Because that was super empty and super vacant looking. And nobody's come and moved the boat yet. It also occurs to me that that boat is landed in such a way that it should have taken out the power line, but it didn't. At least I'm pretty sure it didn't.
Maybe it did, and then just put the power line back up.
Used electrical tape. It's probably what they did for the cabin that Barry and Alan are in.
I guess.
Anyway, next time on Radical Bromance, episode 3.